All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome in. Farzine Basugian here with you for another episode of the Red Friday Q&A live chat. Hope you are having a great Red Friday. My day's been pretty good. Been busy. Been pretty busy. I think this is going to be the last, decent weather before actual winter weather comes in. Got a little something there on that pop filter, but we're good. All right, it is the Red Friday Q&A live chat. It's been a while since we've last done one of these because the Chiefs coming off a bye week. I want to know how you guys are feeling. How are you guys feeling going into Sunday's game against the Broncos? Because I think from a Chiefs perspective, there's some pessimism given the game they were coming off. And I know there's some of that as well in Denver, given the type of game the Broncos were just coming off. It was a win, but it was a very ugly win. And a lot of people are favoring Denver. I'm going to look up what the line is. I know last I checked, it was 3.5. It opened at 3 for the Chiefs, but I'd be really curious to know what it is at this moment. Money line is slowly moving up in favor of the Chiefs. Yeah, it's still 3.5, and it's been at 205. When we did the podcast on Wednesday, it was minus 205 money line for the Chiefs, plus 170 for the Broncos. So that has stayed the same. I'm looking at ESPN's analytics. Oh, by the way, the lines are courtesy of our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm looking at the matchup predictor from ESPN's analytics, and the Chiefs are at 60%, Broncos at 40%. Not necessarily an overwhelming majority there, but still favoring the Chiefs, a 5-4 team going into Denver. Here's where I wanted to start here for tonight's live stream. And by the way, for those of you who are just coming in, I see a couple of you guys commenting. Please, whatever questions you guys have, ask it below. That's what this live chat is all about. It's about you guys. You guys let me know what's on your mind. Questions, comments, anything you guys want me to address, ask it below, and I'll get to it shortly. I usually start by just kind of giving my thoughts, and then once some of the questions build up, we'll get to you guys. It's been a really interesting week because I put out there on social media what the Super Bowl odds were. Oh boy, people are not happy that the Chiefs are the betting favorites right now. When you look at the Super Bowl odds on DraftKings, Kansas City is at plus 600. The Rams plus 650. The Eagles at 750. Lions also at 750. Seahawks at 950. Colts at 1,000. Bills also at 1,000. Then you got the Ravens at 1,300. Patriots at 1,600. Packers at 1,700. And Broncos at 1,900. So there you have it. The Broncos, who are tied for the best record in the NFL coming into Week 11, they are what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11th on the list. The Broncos are at plus 1,900. The Chargers are at plus 2,500. Those two teams are above the Chiefs right now in the AFC West. Now, in the event the Chiefs lose this week, first of all, we're going to be having a lot of interesting conversations. I know that for a fact. Second of all, these Super Bowl odds will change drastically. I can assure you that right now. Oddly enough, if you want to know who the projected division winner is, who's being favored on DraftKings, it is Denver at plus 120, the Chiefs at plus 165, then the Raiders at 300. The Raiders are at 50,000. So if you want to make a really gutsy bet, I guess, hey, listen, you have a chance until you're out of it, right? Here's my thing. I know a lot of people are defending some of Kansas City's losses, saying that, yeah, they've played some really good teams, and they've all been one-score losses. But a year ago this time, the Chiefs were winning all of their one-score games. They didn't lose a single one-score game last year. So I think there are a lot of people, when you look at the odds makers, and not just odds makers, even experts out there, who are still very high on the Denver Broncos. I was looking at Tom Brady's top 10 power rankings. He's still got the Chiefs on there. Look, you could easily say this is a must win for both teams. Denver needs to win this game so they can stay competitive for the number one seed because that is what they're competing for right now. In addition to being 5-0 at home atop the AFC West, the Chiefs, they're looking outside of the playoff picture at the moment. They are right now the 8th ranked team in the AFC. So they must win this game. And when you look at the Chargers and the Jaguars, that does become a very interesting game here. Who would you rather win that game? Because if you're Kansas City, you probably get more of a benefit if the Chargers win that game. See, this is a situation the Chiefs have found themselves in because for 2 weeks in a row, the Chiefs were pulling for the Raiders. That's never fun. That's never fun if we're being completely honest. If the Chargers lose to the Jaguars, which I did have as my upset of the week, that does not help Kansas City. Kansas City would still be looking on the outside in the AFC playoff picture. But if the Chiefs win, boy, that still gives them a lot to feel good about going into the Colts game. So, again, the Chiefs have just found themselves in this really bad situation. You can only go so far and say, well, the Chiefs, yeah, they have 4 losses, but they were 0-2 in the beginning. They've made up a lot of ground since then, and all of their 4 losses were one-score games. You got to find a way to win these one-score games, because if you lose a one-score game in the playoffs, it's not going to be, yeah, well, they lost one. No, at that point, you're done. Your season's over. But the optimism nationally still seems to be very high around Kansas City. Xavier Worthy appeared on the injury list yesterday. He was limited in practice because of an ankle he tweaked in practice, according to Andy Reid. And Chiefs fans lost their minds. Now, I will say it's a little hard to tell who's being facetious. I know people like to have fun and make jokes on social media, but I mean, listen, you could tell, you can tell for the most part who's joking and who's not. There were a lot of Chiefs fans genuinely concerned because Worthy was limited in practice the other day, and they wondered if this would negatively impact them. Not that Worthy's having a great season, but I think having all of your receivers available, that really does help out a lot. So Kansas City, they've put themselves in this situation where they have very little room for error, and Andy Reid's addressed that. Patrick Mahomes addressed that this week. So Kansas City's got to go to work. Now, this Denver team, we broke them down earlier in the week. If you haven't, go check out that podcast. A very inconsistent offense. When you look at the Broncos right now, they might be the best one-dimensional team in the league. That's not necessarily a badge of honor or anything, but I suppose I'd rather be a great one-dimensional team than be 5-4 right now, if we're being completely honest. Now, if Denver loses this game, I think that team's going to have a lot of question marks. Denver does have a fairly easy schedule. I know New England has a fairly easy schedule. And by the way, I saw the comment earlier as I was skimming. People were asking about New England and how they've had an easy schedule. Look, people have been criticizing the Colts, not wanting to give them credit because of their easy schedule. Let me just say this, because I don't like to take credit away from teams. I don't care how ugly your wins are. The Chiefs had a lot of ugly wins last year. They also had a lot of ugly wins in 2022. And I remember 2022 specifically, it was said that the Chiefs were going to get beat by a team that would exploit those weaknesses. Well, no one ever did, because the Chiefs won the Super Bowl that year. So my question to you is this, regarding the Patriots, the Colts, and the Broncos. Do they have easy schedules? Sure, we can say that. We can go that route. Here's my follow-up question. If we're going to say that they have an easy schedule, did you still expect them to all have 8 wins coming into this week? Because I sure as hell did not. You cannot sit here and take credit away from a team and say, well, they've got an easy schedule. But if you didn't anticipate them to have 8 wins up to this point, then what are you really arguing? You can only play who's on your schedule. Yes, teams like the Colts, the Patriots, the Broncos, yeah, they've got a little bit of an easy schedule. I can't remember who was third place in the AFC West last year. Was it Denver or was it the Chargers? I think it was Denver. Yeah, it was Denver. So Denver has a third place schedule. The Colts have a second place schedule. The Patriots have a fourth place schedule. Now, that's only based on last year's records. Whatever is happening this year uh, is always going to be different. Because here's the thing. If the Chiefs beat the Colts and the Broncos, these next two games, obviously the opposite order, the Broncos first and the Colts second, then as a Chiefs fan, are you not going to say that it's a great win for the Chiefs? Because then you're diminishing your own favorite team's wins if you're going to say, yeah, the Broncos and the Colts and the Patriots are all overrated because they've played easy teams. You can only play who's on your schedule. Listen, I remember in 2013, the Chiefs started 9-0 after that abysmal 2-win season from a year ago. And there were a lot of people not wanting to give the Chiefs credit and saying, well, their offense has been inconsistent and they've been playing a lot of easy teams. And I remember at the time I was saying, yes, they are playing a lot of easy teams, but I still remember some of those easy teams they played a year ago and lost. Like, I still remember the Chiefs got destroyed by the Cleveland freaking Browns in 2012. The Chiefs beat them a year later when Andy Reid came in and Alex Smith joined the team, made a few other changes here and there. We're a much better football team. No question about it. I just think at the end of the day, you can't take credit away from a team. Now, sure, if you want to look at the specifics, the intricacies, the machinations, all of that stuff that's led to their records and dive into DVOA, I know that's a really big deal for some sports fans. Sure, I guess you can use that to want to predict a win or a loss or say who's going to be one and done in the playoffs. Yeah, sure. All of that is fair and fun, I suppose. As far as this specific matchup, I know with the Broncos, and I posted this moments ago before we went live, the Broncos are going to be without some key players here. We anticipated that they would be without J.K. Dobbins. There hasn't been a specific they don't really know what they're going to do with him, but the thought is he's going to be placed on IR and miss 4 games. Should have probably been done already, if we're being honest. Just kind of depends when he'll be back. They're also going to be without Pat Surtain II. That is big for that defense. Now, I will say this. I've said for a long time, I think Denver's got the best defense in the league. And even without Pat Surtain for a couple of games now, they're still playing great football on the defensive side. And I will say, if you've got a great defense across the board, defensive linemen, guys up front, your linebackers, and in the secondary, and if you're going to miss key players, I'd rather it be in the secondary than up front. A great cornerback in Pat Surtain, who is a fantastic cornerback, no question about it. He can only take away one guy. But when you've got a strong defensive front like Benito, Cooper, Allen, so many other guys on that defense, they can take away every receiver for you. So Denver, at the end of the day, still has its key players from that defensive front right there. And a lot of people, by the way, here's a weird question. Do you guys, and no right or wrong answer here. And by the way, keep your questions coming. I'll get to those shortly. Here's a weird question. Do you guys think Josh Simmons is playing on Sunday? Because that seems to be a thing on social media. Listen, I've had a crazy week, so I've not had a chance to pay attention to social media. But I guess people are scared that Josh Simmons won't play this week or maybe not start. I don't know. That seems to be a thought, a fear out there. So Andy Reid in his press conference today, he was asked about Josh Simmons, and Andy Reid said there are no secrets. You guys know what's going on. I don't know if I agree with him on that, but if Andy Reid is receiving questions about who the starting left tackle will be on Sunday, he has to be grinning on his way out of the press conference room. The fact that there's a thought out there from the media as to who the left tackle will be, Andy Reid's going to let that be a mystery. Yeah, I don't know what the thought is. I mean, yes, he's been away from the team, not training with the team, might be a little out of football shape. I'm sure he's been in shape, but not training with the team, not going through practices for a month, that can be a big deal. Now he came back right after the Bills game and got an opportunity to kind of ramp things up. So I don't know what Josh Simmons' bye week was like. If we're being completely honest, he was off for 4 weeks. So surely he had spent a lot of time training, doing some things differently. I don't know how much time players are allowed with the organization during a bye week. I would imagine there's some sort of limitations there by the NFLPA on that kind of thing. But that gave him an opportunity to ramp up for this game. But that's a fear out there from some people, which I think is funny. Why would there be an honest concern regarding Josh Simmons? I don't think that's a real thing. Let's see. AFC West, we talked about that. Isaiah Pacheco has been ruled out. He will not play on Sunday. Listen, I like Pacheco, especially what he did for his first 2 years in Kansas City. I never want to be disingenuous with a comment like this, but is this really viewed as a loss? Again, not that you ever want an injury. You never do. Who's concerned that Isaiah Pacheco's not going to get his 4 or 5, maybe 6 carries in this game? The Chiefs have really gone, and I know last year was different because of all the injuries. Kareem Hunt coming off the street turned into a workhorse. But is anybody concerned that Pacheco's not going to play? I don't feel that way. Maybe some do. I certainly don't. Last thing I did want to touch on here. I'm sure you guys have heard the news regarding L'Jarius Sneed. If you haven't, L'Jarius Sneed is in a little bit of trouble involving a past incident in Dallas where he and I guess a group of friends were in his vehicle. I think it was a Lamborghini from what I read, and there was a drive-by involved in that. Not good. That is not good. Sorry, I'm laughing at something completely different, not at the Snead story. I'm laughing at some of the responses, so let me just quickly explain. I put out there that Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, they're going to announce the next 3 games for the Chiefs: at Denver, at home against Indy, and at Dallas for Thanksgiving. So that would mark it 4 straight games where Nantz and Romo would be on the mic on TV for the Chiefs. Dude, the reactions to that one have been hilarious. So just had to explain what that was. The Snead thing's obviously not funny. As far as the Snead incident, dude, listen, I know L'Jarius Sneed's been through a lot in his career. Everyone loved what Snead did for the Chiefs in his 4 years with the team. And I still get these comments, oh, the Chiefs should have kept Snead. They should have kept Snead. With what salary cap? You can't keep everyone. And not only that, L'Jarius Snead has missed a lot of games due to injury. He's missed a lot of practice due to injury since going to the Titans. I saw a tweet from a Titans fan who just lashed out in all caps, talking about how much he's hated this trade. As a Chiefs fan, my thought is that's another win for the Chiefs as far as trades go. Remember when they traded Tyreek Hill and everyone thought the Chiefs were going to regret that? Nope. Remember when the Chiefs traded L'Jarius Snead in March and everyone thought they would regret that? No. I mean, the Chiefs really got the best in those 2 situations there. I thought they could have gotten a little more for Snead, but generally cornerbacks just don't get much as far as trades go. I remember Marcus Peters was a 2nd and a 4th? Actually not bad, especially for a guy that got a lot of interceptions in Kansas City. And unfortunately, he just was not the same after leaving the Chiefs. In fact, his very last game was against the Chiefs because he just was not playing well for the Raiders. But yeah, ultimately, the Chiefs tend to have luck on their side because here's the thing. If you trade for a player and that player gets injured, yeah, that sucks, but fair or not, that will be held against the general manager. The owner is going to say, look, you gave up draft capital for a guy that's barely been available for us. Oh, and they're paying him a lot of money too. So, yeah, listen, I know Chris Jones is not producing for that contract, and I know Andy Reid talked about that this week with him getting double teamed a lot, but at least Chris Jones is not getting into trouble. I know he's not playing at the same level, but at least he's been available for the Chiefs. Can't say that about L'Jarius Sneed. Anyway, those are my big thoughts coming into tonight's Red Friday Q&A live show. Whatever questions you guys have, please drop it below and we will get right into it. Elaine says, what are the keys to this game? I think the offensive tackles for the Chiefs have to have a great game. They're going to be battle tested in this one. And it's going to happen again on Christmas when they come to Arrowhead, when the Broncos come to Arrowhead. If your offensive tackles have a great game, I think everything else will fall into place. So, listen, Denver's offense, you can't ever count them out, but I think the Chiefs have the tools to keep Denver quiet and limit them like they've been all season. If you could only put up 10 points on the Raiders, I'm sure Kansas City's defense can hold them to not at least let them go off. Listen, I said 27-24. I think Denver's offense will do some good things. I don't think they're going to go off and put up 33 in one quarter like they did against the Giants, but I suppose, don't let Spags fool you. He'll do some things to try to limit that Broncos offense. The Chiefs coaching staff will exhaust every bit of energy and resource to figure that out. Trevor says the Chiefs will blow out the Broncos. I hope so. I love the next comment. We will play down to one comment says the Chiefs will blow out the Broncos. That's from Trevor. And the next comment comes from Lauren that says we will play down to the Broncos level. See, this is what I'm talking about. We've got all kinds of mixed reactions going into this one. Chiefs have to get up early. Yeah, they have had slow starts in both halves throughout the season. And I'd like to see some consistency in that. New England, our first round exit. Yeah, maybe. I can see some people thinking that way. Chiefs control their own destiny, as crazy as that might sound if you look at the standings. Michael, you're going to have to elaborate. If you're 5-4 in third place, well, okay, maybe that's not that crazy of a thought. Like, that's what you have to win out. Now, you're going to need the Chargers to drop a game. Yeah, you're going to need the Chargers to drop another game. I mean, sure, look, if you win out, yeah, you will move ahead of Denver. That's possible, sure. The Chargers are going to have to drop at least one more game. So I wouldn't say they're necessarily in control, but, and I've seen people say that the Chiefs winning out is not out of the realm of possibilities. Never say never. We've seen them go on a surge before. Right now, the Chiefs have shown their inconsistencies to where I don't know if I can agree to that. They might drop a game that we might not expect them to drop this year, as far as their remainder of the schedule. Christopher says, I've got a troll question. When you start with I've got a troll question, you know it's going to be good. Here we go. Why do you think Chiefs haters will blame the refs but never acknowledge that the opposing team just isn't that good? I thought you were going to troll me. See, that's not a troll question. I guess that's a troll question for Chiefs haters. Listen, man, they did this with New England, and they're kind of doing it right now with Philly. They really are. Listen, man, people just don't like powerhouse winners. I have used this example millions of times, and I will continue to use it again. A lot of you guys either like the Jayhawks or you absolutely hate the Jayhawks because you're probably K-State or Mizzou fans. In my lifetime, and in a lot of your guys' lifetimes, what's been the best sports team in the area? And I'm including the three colleges I just mentioned. It's been KU basketball, whether you love them or not. But KU basketball, when they go on the road and they lose a game, what happens? Fans storm the court. Why do fans storm the court? Because you just beat one of the best teams in all of college basketball. It's the same thing when the Chiefs lose. When the Chiefs lose, the other 31 NFL fan bases unite for a Super Bowl parade. And I remember it was the same way for New England whenever they would lose. In the rare event, Tom Brady would get destroyed, and that happened twice against Kansas City, a couple times against Kansas City, actually. Everyone loved it. People were celebrating. They thought that it was going to finally be the end of Tom Brady, which it never was. It took some time, but everyone always likes to see a powerhouse team go down. And when they always win, people always have to come up with conspiracy theories. That's the only way to answer that. I do agree, Joshua. Colts and Patriots, those are the big surprises this year. I'm not too surprised with the Patriots. I had the Patriots going into the playoffs. A lot of you guys laughed at me for that one. Now, did I have the Patriots in the AFC East lead right now? Absolutely not. I will say this. My pick for Coach of the Year before the season was Mike Vrabel. Right now, if I had to vote, I do give it to Shane Steichen at this very moment. But I will say this, Coach of the Year right now, it is a very tight race between Shane Steichen and Mike Vrabel. And as long as both teams continue to do well to finish out the regular season, I would not be shocked if we've got a really close vote for Coach of the Year. Again, my vote at this exact moment would go to Steichen. There's nothing wrong with giving it to Vrabel, I don't think. My vote would just go to Steichen at the moment. Because the Colts have been destroying teams. The Patriots, again, are they a surprise? Yes. To me, not too big of a surprise, because I thought they would be a playoff team. Dude, I'm a big fan of Mike Vrabel. I think that guy, seriously, like, the Titans will regret firing him if they haven't already. There is no reason to fire that guy. He was never the issue. Yeah, the Seahawks, you know, the thing with Sam Darnold is he got off to such a terrible start in his career. He goes and has that great season with the Vikings. And I know a big part of it was Minnesota's defense, but Darnold, I think, still did some things that year that nobody expected. Like, you've got to give him credit for what he's done. And having to change teams again, go learn a brand new offense and work with a bunch of new guys. Yeah, here's the other thing. Nobody's talking about the Seahawks. Absolutely nobody is talking about the Seahawks. Like, I'm not hearing the Seahawks get any. And by the way, I would say Mike McDonald should be right behind Steichen and Vrabel for Coach of the Year. And obviously, you know, we've still got, you know, some games left, so we'll see if there's going to be a separation or anything, but nobody's talking about the Seahawks right now. I don't think they're getting the coverage they honestly deserve. And listen, maybe the team likes that. I know a lot of people love to go under the radar, that kind of thing. I know teams don't listen to the media. They hear it, but they don't listen to them. Mike says anybody's beatable. Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I think with Kansas City, yeah, everyone is beatable. But I think sometimes Kansas City hurts themselves more than the opposing team does, especially with all that talent that you have. Does Elijah Mitchell play? Probably not. Listen, I know this has been a really big topic for a lot of people, not for me. And I'm not saying that with any disrespect to Elijah Mitchell. It's just, I was not big on his free agent signing in the offseason. I really wasn't. Am I surprised to see him on the inactive list for every single game, basically? Yeah, that I am. Because I said this in training camp. And I know we're several months removed from that, but I remember the Chiefs would do their 11 on 11s, and there was a specific period where they would just do running plays on 11 on 11. Now, I suppose that makes it much easier for the opposing defense because you are basically expecting the run. So I don't know how you really practice that when every set of reps are running plays. But I just remember Pacheco and Hunt were getting a lot of short gains. And then you would see Elijah Mitchell pop out for a big one there. So I don't know. I've been a little confused by Mitchell being inactive for every game, basically. Like they put Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the 53-man roster last game, and they kept Mitchell inactive. I can't say I was too terribly surprised. I told you guys the week of the game that either Carson Steele or Clyde Edwards-Helaire would get promoted through standard elevation. That's exactly what happened. We saw CEH. I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen to Mitchell, but I knew they were not going to do standard elevation for CEH just for him not to play. But that has a lot of Chiefs fans riled up and kind of questioning things. At this point, Pacheco's career, it's fair to say this isn't a significant loss. Yeah, and again, I hate that because I was excited for Pacheco when he came into the Kansas City Chiefs with his 40 time. I was really shocked with where he fell, and a lot of people, as the season went on, were like, "How did this guy almost go undrafted?" Played great his second season, though in the playoffs not so much. That was when they won Super Bowl 58. Last year, obviously the injury, and he had a very low yard per carry average, the lowest of his career. And now we're at a point where it's like, okay, Pacheco's unavailable, so let's start using Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit again. I'll say this right now. The Chiefs have to seriously consider drafting a running back early. I know that scares a lot of Chiefs fans because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was drafted in the first round and that didn't pan out. Okay, by that logic, I guess the Chiefs should never, ever draft a defensive end in the first round because the last time they did that, it didn't work out. I don't know. That's silliness. I know the Chiefs are not too big on giving a big veteran contract to running backs. I don't know, man. Like, I think if you want some balance on this offense, because this offense has been pass heavy. In the Patrick Mahomes era, how often have we talked about the running backs? The beginning of Kareem Hunt's career. Keep in mind, when Patrick Mahomes started his second year, that was also Kareem Hunt's second year, which was cut short for reasons you all know about. And then, who was it? It was Damian Williams, who turned it up in the postseason. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but Damian Williams at one point held the franchise record for postseason touchdown scores. Travis Kelce obviously now owns that, but Damian Williams at one point had that record. It helps that he had 2 or 3 touchdowns in that Super Bowl against the 49ers. But outside of Kareem Hunt in 2018 and Damian Williams for a couple of postseasons, when have we ever talked about the running back position in a really big manner in Kansas City? Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco, somewhat his first 2 years. And listen, I think it was Pacheco's rookie season, I think. No, it was his second season. The year they won Super Bowl 58. The year with all the drops and everything. Pacheco was not too far away from 1,000 yards rushing. But the Chiefs rested all their starters in that game. Kelce could have had 1,000 yards receiving in that game I think he needed 16 yards or something like that. So that's Pacheco's been close to 1,000 yards before. But he's just not that same running back anymore, unfortunately. If Mitchell doesn't see playing time this game, and if Clyde doesn't get handles, then I don't know why Brashard Smith isn't seeing 10-plus touches. Yeah, I know Brashard Smith got a lot of hype this offseason. We've seen a little bit of it. I know there was that one play, that screenplay to Brashard Smith. Unfortunately, Mahomes was under pressure and was trying to get rid of the ball and ended up hitting Trey Smith in the helmet. That play looked like it could have gone for a big gain if the Chiefs had their ducks in a row on that play. But it ended up being one of those Benny Hill type of moments where you throw it at a lineman's helmet instead. We haven't seen the Chiefs utilize Brashard Smith to his full potential yet. He is capable of doing some really good things. We just haven't seen much of that. Part of it is the Chiefs don't run the ball much. And we've seen Brashard Smith used a lot in the passing game, more than I thought he would have been up to this point. So I still think the jury's out on Brashard Smith. How are the Chiefs going to handle the running back personnel? You make a valid point there, Jake, but we'll have to see as we get closer to game day. Pacheco may be washed up, unfortunately, after his injury last year. He just hasn't been the same. I don't disagree. So, Donnie, Snead is not the one who committed the felony, but he was in the vehicle, to my understanding. But listen, man, sometimes being a bystander can get you in trouble. Whether that's fair or not, sure, that's up for debate, but this is why you've got to surround yourself with the right people. Yeah, listen, you want to go out, have a good time with your buddies? Sure. Make sure you ain't going to sketchy places, because that can play a big hand in ending your career. I mean, listen, there are college kids, very talented college kids, that we've probably never heard of because they were way too focused on partying and having fun and going out and finding themselves in line of trouble unintentionally. You just cannot do those. You're going to have to pick your battles here. You either focus on athletics, or you can have the time of your life in college like a lot of other college kids and go to parties and what. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going out and going to parties, but you got to know who you're surrounding yourself with. You got to know where you're going. Because if you're going to be in a spot where there are a bunch of people you don't know and trouble could rise, be prepared for your college career to be over. And that could maybe impact you professionally. You never know. I think Jones needs more help. He's always doubled. Yeah, and I know he's campaigning for them to bring back Treshaun Wharton, or I'm not Treshaun Wharton, Colin Saunders, who cleared waivers today. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I know they brought back Pinnell, which should have never been the case in the first place, but that did happen. We definitely fleeced the Titans on that one. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Denver's offensive line is really good. We might struggle getting pressure on Knicks. And I just don't get it with the Chiefs' defensive line. It's like they're counting up 5 Mississippi on every single snap. This defense needs to get a better push. And they broke this down on ESPN the next day after the Chiefs lost to the Bills. Right before the Bills were trying to line up that field goal to seal the game, which they ended up missing, hitting the crossbar or the post, whichever. I can't remember where it hit. But it was a doink nonetheless. But ESPN was showing on one of the last plays Buffalo had where they had the ball, their entire offensive line is just pushing, almost like those people shoveling snow. They're just getting all that snow out of the way. That's what it looked like a bulldozer, just pushing people out of the way. Like that Chiefs defense, you've got to learn to stand up to offensive linemen. Unless they were just unexpectedly expecting a pass. Like, what was that? And I get defenses can be tired late in the game, but for your entire defensive line to just get literally pushed around. Like, absolutely no fight up front. That's just hard to watch. Chiefs 5-3 in the next 8, in your opinion? Chiefs and Chargers split. Yeah, you definitely have to win in December when you play the Chargers. I think in week 2 of December. Yeah, you've got to win that one. This team hasn't won more than 3 in a row, and we are halfway through the season. Yes, but the Chiefs can still turn up at any point. Do I expect them to win out? No. I think they drop a game somewhere down the line. Missouri basketball is dead. I don't follow college athletics, especially basketball right now. I don't really follow basketball until the regular season's over. Even then, I'm still like fully on football. I mean, Mizzou basketball, they'll have like their moments every once in a while, but yeah, for the most part, it's fairly Benny Hill, good way to put it. Yes. Yeah, Damian, yeah, that's unfortunate. I thought he was going to become like the next running back for the Chiefs, but just didn't end up happening that way. Go Zags. Hope they get Thornton more involved in this game. Okay, let me just say something about Tyquan Thornton. Look, I get it. Like, whenever I criticize players or coaches, I try to be mindful of certain things, because if you're going to criticize someone whose job you absolutely cannot do, you better have a really, really, really good reason to criticize them. But here's my point. Tyquan Thornton, he has 311 receiving yards. That is 77th in the NFL right now. Okay. That's receiving yards. Let's go over the top 100 players in terms of receiving yards. Okay. Tyquan Thornton is averaging, where is it? Where's number 77? He's averaging exactly 22.2 yards per catch. When I look at the entire top 100 list, nobody's averaging more than 22 yards a catch. There's a receiver in Indianapolis, Alec Pierce, who's having a really good season. He's averaging almost 21 yards a catch. That's the only guy in the top 100 in receiving yards who comes close to Tyquan Thornton. So here's my issue with the Chiefs coaching staff right now, is that you have this very talented football player in Tyquan Thornton, but you're not using him. His snaps have drastically gone down since Worthy's return, and even more when Rice got back. Look, and I've had a couple comments. I know Nick Wright said this also, not necessarily specifically for Thornton, but I've just seen people say, oh, well, Andy Reid's holding back and saving big plays for bigger games. This is not a time to hold back. You're 5-4 looking outside the playoff picture right now. I don't think Andy Reid's holding back, by the way, just to be clear. I think that's nonsense from fans. Do I think Andy Reid goes a little soft and refuses to run up the score? Yes. The Raiders game this year is a perfect example of it, when they started QB kneeling before the 2-minute warning. Who has been in victory formation before the 2-minute warning? How many times have you ever seen that? Never. That never, ever, ever happens. But for Thornton to have 22 yards per catch on average, and you're barely using him, this is criminal here. Like, Tyquan Thornton has proven to you that he should be getting more than 14 receptions. He had 3 receptions for 90 yards in the first half against Jacksonville, and they only threw the ball to him once in the second half of that game. And look, I like Hollywood Brown and what he's done this year. Is Hollywood Brown the receiver he once was with Baltimore and with Arizona? No. And listen, part of it is the way this offense is built. You have Rashee Rice. You have Hollywood. And listen, Hollywood Brown did a couple of really good things for the Chiefs in the last game. I know there are a lot of people who are on Hollywood Brown lately. Look, Hollywood, I know he didn't have a catch in the Commanders game. There's not enough footballs to go around, so that's going to happen. But given how talented Tyquan Thornton is, and it's clearly proven that New England made a mistake letting him go. Not that I think they're beating themselves up about it too much right now, but you can't tell me that a talented player like that should have been cut still. Tyquan Thornton should not be losing snaps at the moment. Should his snaps be a little bit lower because Rice and Worthy are back? Yeah, sure. I'm not going to argue that. But for him to basically be non-existent, the only time he was targeted in the Buffalo game was the second to last play when the Chiefs basically ran 2 Hail Marys. And Thornton almost caught that. It's just he had a defender right behind him to help poke the ball out of his hands. This is not a time to limit Tyquan Thornton. I think you need him right now, and you need to utilize him a lot, especially against a very good Denver defense who's, there's no Pat Surtain, but they've got their entire defensive front, and that defensive front is probably going to force you to have a lot of quick passes here. So you're going to need a guy like Thornton who can help you, and I know Rice is going to be big on that too with the slant routes. It's a good thing we traded Snead. Could you imagine if the Chiefs had 2 players in the legal system? Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the Chiefs have had some really bad luck with that stuff too lately. I mean, some of it's just been bad things, not necessarily legal, like court situations, but we know the Kareem Hunt one. I alluded to that earlier. The Britt Reed one, that was just very sad and unfortunate. I know the Chiefs did not retain him, but still, everything he did was still tied to him leaving the franchise's training facility. There was that situation with Isaiah Buggs, who nobody had ever heard of until he was with the Chiefs and was in trouble in the offseason. Obviously, Rice, the Chiefs have had some bad luck with that kind of stuff. And listen, I don't know what happens to where those things happen a lot with one team. I mean, I'm sure the Chiefs say, hey, look, whenever OTAs end, there's, 5, 6, 7 weeks, depending on when your OTAs end. For it's different for every team. And when training camp starts, coaches will tell their players, do not get in trouble. Stay out of trouble. Same thing whenever it's a bye week. Because, players have a lot of time on their hands during a bye week. They even have a lot of time on their hands during the season too. I don't know. I get the Chiefs are not helicopter parents, they're coaches, but I still think the Chiefs can do something to where you gotta emphasize or do a better job of emphasizing staying out of trouble. And I think, listen, Rashee Rice said it. He said the learning lesson is that I have an opportunity to play under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and I almost threw that away. So you listen, it's great that he knows that now, but thankfully with the Rice thing, nothing too horrible happened like the Henry Ruggs or the Britt Reed incidents. But man, you never want that to be your learning lesson. And you guys know me, man. I'm one of those people. I have a really low tolerance for people who go behind the wheel and do crazy stuff like that. There's no room for that, man. I mean, that's selfish and that's hurtful to you and whoever you're in the car with. And it's also selfish to other people on the road that you're sharing the road with. Joshua says they need to get back to the deep ball in this game. That's going to be hard to do with that front seven. I agree it needs to come back, but that's going to be hard to do with this front seven. Not saying that, there won't be opportunities, but I think you should expect more of the quick passes than a lot of the deep throws. And maybe this is a game where the Chiefs go run heavy, something they should have done last game. Even Rex Ryan. By the way, I know Rex Ryan, he made a comment saying that the reason he picked the Bills is because he knew the Chiefs were not going to run the ball against a 31st ranked defense. And a lot of people responded with, yeah, but how many Super Bowls has Rex Ryan won? How many times did he fail as a head coach? Look, if we're going to seriously sit here and diminish an analyst's opinion because they were not great as coaches or players in terms of Super Bowl titles, dude, 99% of these analysts across every network, CBS, ESPN, NBC, Fox Sports, and all of these other platforms we have on social media, because a lot of these guys are independent too. They do their own podcasts, a lot of radio shows as well across the world. I guess, a lot of guys are not allowed to give opinions because they never won a championship. I know Tim Grunhard, whenever he criticizes a Chiefs player, whenever he feels the need to do that, he gets the same pushback, and he's actually responded to that pushback. His response, his words, not mine, was "kiss my ass," which I don't disagree with him. Just because you never won a championship doesn't mean you can't have a critical opinion. Rex Ryan is not wrong. I mean, the Chiefs, not that they have dominance at the running back position, but they have a capable running back in Kareem Hunt who could have had a really good game. And he was averaging almost 7 yards a carry in the first half. But the Chiefs said, no, we're going to go pass heavy. And that proved to be a big mistake. Not to mention the rookie defensive back who made a rookie mistake in acknowledging this. He basically let it be known that the Chiefs are predictable. And listen, thank you, Maxwell Hairston. I think as a Chiefs fan, I needed to see that because I'm sure Andy Reid heard it. I'm sure Matt Nagy heard it. I'm sure Patrick Mahomes and the rest of that offense heard it. There's no way that, like, I seriously do believe that if Maxwell Hairston did not make that comment, I think the Chiefs offense would have looked anemic moving forward. I think Kansas City's offense, especially coming off the bye, you're going to see some creative things against a good Broncos defensive front. So I'm eager to see how that is going to look moving forward. How far behind are we on questions? Oh, we got a lot of questions. Okay, let's try to do a speed round here. I miss Snead, but I don't miss his temper problems that get us penalties. Yeah, he had a lot of penalties. I remember in 2023, Jawan Taylor led the league in penalties, obviously led all offensive players in penalties, and Snead led all defensive players in penalties. Yeah, that was not good. That was not good at all. Who's the current Saints QB? Didn't he get in trouble when he was in Oklahoma? Who is the current Saints QB? Is it Tyler Shook? I don't know. They had a surprising win last week. Tyler Shook went to Louisville. Where did the Rattler go? Rattler went to South Carolina. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think you might be getting them mixed up for another team. Anyway, I'm back. Was looking at Instagram questions. There aren't any there. Got to win the red zone battles. Cannot settle for field goals. That I agree with. And listen, for crying out loud, if you're going to run the ball with Kareem Hunt in the red zone, don't do what you did against Buffalo, where you had a trips left and you left Kareem Hunt with basically no extra help for blocking up front. That's why he got stuffed on that play. Will Denver play their starters? If I were Denver, I wouldn't play any starters. I don't know why. Why would Denver not play their starters? They're fighting for the number 1 seed right now. Like, unless it was, remember when the Lions had a week 17 game that had no meaning whatsoever, but they still played their starters? Which I kind of thought was silly because you could have maybe used that as a self-imposed very late bye week. Now, it didn't matter too much because they still won in week 18. Unfortunately, one and done in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they would rest their starters. No way. Wichita State looks really good. Yeah, and I know Wichita State kind of fell out of the basketball picture for a while. Might be back into it. No, Worthy will play. He was limited in practice yesterday. Was he limited today? I did not bother looking that up because I was out and about when Andy Reid was talking. I heard it on the radio. But I think I know he practiced today, and I know he's going to play on Sunday. Was he limited today, though? Let's see. Where is it? I don't see it. He was full today. Okay, good. People can stop panicking now. Who would you be rooting for if the Chiefs were to win against the Broncos? Would you want the Jags to win or the Chargers to win to help us get into play? This is a really good question. Unfortunately, this is a good question, but also a shitty question, if you know what I mean. It's shitty in the fact that the Chiefs find themselves in that position. Not a shitty question from you, Kyle, to be clear. Look, get yourself in the playoff picture right now. So, unfortunately, the Chargers winning helps the Chiefs. Right now, if you're Kansas City, just worry about being part of the 7 that gets into the playoffs. And look, keep in mind, this 7-team playoff format from each conference is what, 4 or 5 years old? I mean, if this was 10 years ago, the Chiefs would be 2 spots out. So Kansas City's fortunate that we're in the format we're in now with 7 teams, because boy, the narrative would be much different if it was a 6-team playoff format instead of 17 from each conference. But to answer your question, I would be pulling for the Chargers in this one, just because I want the Chiefs to get into the playoff picture right now. Sure, long run, I suppose a Chargers win helps, but right now, just find yourself in the playoff picture. How is Reed not using Thornton or designing speed packages? Yeah, I agree. I kind of alluded to that earlier, but that's criminal to me. Jim says aggressive teams won't hold back. Just saying. Yeah, I don't disagree. They should go 3 deep with Worthy, Rice, and Thornton. Been waiting to see that. Listen, I have no problems with them using Worthy, Rice, and Hollywood as their 3 primary receivers. I don't have an issue with that at all. That's been the plan for more than a year. The problem is they've been using those 3 guys, and Thornton is just forgotten about. I know Thornton's doing more special teams, but listen, guys can still do special teams and offense. I've seen that before. I've seen Tyreek Hill do it. I've seen Dante Hall do it. I've seen many other great returners do it in the past. Are there some returners that are only good as a returner? Yes, I've seen that before too. I think Thornton can listen. For right now, you don't have that special of a return game, especially when they're holding calls every single goddamn return. Sorry, but I just have to get that out there. That pisses me off about this team right now more than anything. The return game and Thornton's the lack of using Thornton. I mean, yeah, your return game is not that special with Thornton right now. So use Thornton more on offense. There are ways to utilize him more. We're just not seeing it right now. It's a great thing the Chiefs traded him. Could you imagine? Oh, yeah, you just asked the same question on YouTube, Christopher. We all now know Christopher's YouTube account. To me, Brown's a hothead and needs to control his temper. Browns? Who's Browns? I think autocorrect got you on that one, Jim. Unless I'm completely misunderstanding who you are referring to. Yeah, Rice walking away from the scene, that put him in a bad spot, because he still has to do his 30 days after the season, or whenever it is within the 5 years. The coaching staff needs to be better at involving more than the bread and butter if they're not working. And I agree, especially when you're coming off a loss against Buffalo, a team that was missing some players on defense, and a secondary that's got some holes. Yeah, got to be better. Oh, Rattler went to Oklahoma, then FC. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Thornton and Kelsey will have a big game Sunday afternoon. I hope so. I would not be opposed to that at all. Kelsey's been great. Listen, Kelsey's not getting a lot of the attention he truly deserves this year. If you look at just tight ends alone, Kelsey's having a really, really good season. I know he was leading all tight ends in receiving yards before the bye week. Now, after the bye week, he is 3rd. He's behind Tyler Warren, who's having a phenomenal rookie season. And then Trey McBride, no surprise, is next on that list. By the way, this is the 2nd year in a row that a rookie might lead all tight ends in receiving yards. It was Bowers last year, and it might be Warren this year. We'll see. Did the Colts have their bye yet? No, they have their bye this week. Yeah, they have their bye this week. So there's a chance for Kelsey to move ahead, I guess. But man, Kelsey, a lot of people are not talking about Travis Kelsey and what he's doing this year. 540 receiving yards. And on top of that, look at Travis Kelsey and the numbers, especially the average, he was averaging 8.5 yards per catch last year, the lowest of his career, and it wasn't even close. He's averaging 13.2 yards per catch. You know what was the last time he did that? 2020. And that was a really good year for Travis Kelce. He had 1,400 receiving yards, the most of his career. And I think he broke the record that year for most receiving yards in a season by a tight end in NFL history. He owns that record again because he broke it once and George Kittle broke it like 10 minutes later. And then he did it again a couple of years afterwards, getting that record back from Kittle. Listen, last year had 800 yards. The year before came very close to 1,000. So he hasn't been non-existent necessarily. He just wasn't as effective last year. This year, he's far more effective and a much better offense, too. The offensive line has been better. The receivers' availability certainly helping. That's made it more better this year. Kelce had 3 touchdowns all of last season. He had 1 in the playoffs. He already has 3 coming off the bye at the halfway point of the season. So Kelce's far better this year than last year. Not just far better, but I would also say far more effective. That's big for Kansas City's offense. Can't wait for Pacheco to return. Wished he could play with the Chiefs on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, I wish he was there too. But my thing is, it's like, would the Chiefs even use him much? That's my thing. I don't know what. Listen, the media can ask all they want about lack of giving the ball to the running backs, but Andy Reid, we'll never know why that's been a thing. Hot take: Daniel Jones will start choking once they get back from the bye week. Well, who do they play? I guess that's one reason to feel pretty strongly about that. Listen, I like what Daniel Jones is doing this year. I know when the Colts lost to the Steelers, people were so quick to get on Daniel Jones and say, oh, this is the Daniel Jones we know and love. Listen, Daniel Jones having a terrific season. And I saw that rumor that the Colts are looking to give him a big extension. Boy, I did not think we would have that conversation this year. If you told me there would be a conversation during the season about Daniel Jones getting a big fat contract, I would have said there's no way in hell. But here we are. Can't rely on Mahomes going hero mode the rest of the season like at the beginning of the season. Yeah, I agree. And I think having a run balance certainly will help. Right now, I don't know if they have that answer. Maybe Rashard Smith could be that guy. I don't know. But I'd like to see them utilize the running game a little bit more. I know that sounds that kind of self-contradicts what I said earlier because I was complaining that they're not utilizing Thornton. Which, listen, if you're going to go pass heavy and abandon the running game, okay, I don't agree with that, but fine. If you're going to do all that, get Thornton involved. He was your most effective pass catcher this year, especially when you were missing 2 big wide receivers for your team. So we'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. We are just over an hour here. I appreciate you guys joining me for this episode of the Red Friday Q&A live chat. If you guys enjoyed this, please let a friend know. If you guys missed any part of this live stream, it'll be archived and available shortly on Facebook, YouTube, and X. This is exclusively on social media. It is not on our podcasting platforms. The only time we ever do that is if there is big news that we got to cover. We'll usually combine the Chiefs Zone podcast and the Red Friday Q&A live chat in one. But we haven't done that once this year, I don't think. We did that a couple of times last year. Haven't done that this year, but this is going to be a big game. I do think the Chiefs can get back in the win column. Got to have a lot of those quick passes, and the offensive tackles need to play great in this one. Josh Simmons coming back, that's big. Hopefully Juwan Taylor has a better game because he really struggled 2 weeks ago against Buffalo. And the defense, they've been up and down this year. What can they do against Bo Nix? I was having this conversation with a couple people this week, and I said, man, this would be really tough if Bo Nix, of all weeks, looked like Superman against the Chiefs. Sometimes the Chiefs they've made some offenses look really, really good this year. Like that Jags game, no, that ain't looking good. And then for Buffalo to lose a week later to the Dolphins the way they did, that looks even worse on the Chiefs now. So hopefully the Chiefs can get off to a hot start and stay ahead in this one. That'll be important. Reminder, on Sunday, game day, we will have our pregame live chat, 10 a.m. Central Time, and then we'll have our halftime live stream. And then after the game, around 6:25, 6:30, we'll have the Chiefs Zone podcast. We'll recap the game. I'll have the link for you guys to call in. Just got to click on the link, put in your name, turn on your audio, your video, and we can chat it up afterwards. One quick heads up. For the next couple of weeks, I am going to be traveling. We'll still be doing the podcast. I'm just going to be on the road. As far as when specifically, so I will say this, there will not be a Chiefs Zone on Wednesday. It will be Tuesday. There will not be a Red Friday live chat next week. I'm going to be enjoying my time on the beach. I'll just let you know now. And then the week of Thanksgiving, there will also be another Tuesday podcast. So the next two midweek podcasts where we usually break down the games on a Wednesday, they will be on Tuesday for 2 weeks in a row. One is because of traveling purposes. The other one is because we have a very short week the following week. So just be aware of that in the next 2 weeks, basically. All right, guys. I am Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your Red Friday. I am out. Take care. Have a great weekend.